was yesterday or today. Let me explain what we're doing. This is the second week. We're talking about the history of Romane Kangara. For right now, it's in America. If the opportunity ever comes across that we could talk to somebody in Europe, I would love to talk to somebody in Europe and find out what happened there. Last week we talked about Pastor Safkan, the Los Angeles Church, how it began. Pastor Steve Miller was my guest speaker. And again, I want to thank Pastor Steve Miller. It was an excellent time. He did a great job, really enjoyed it. And it was a good time in the Lord. So tonight we're talking about Pastor Milano and the Houston Church. Mucci will give us better timing, but I think it was roughly 1978 when he opened the church. And just to give a little background, Pastor Milano, Pastor Safka, once in Chachevera, and as they grew up together. They grew up like if they were brothers, and they would always say that. Every time they would be at a revival or something, they would always talk about being Barardesa proud. They grew up like brothers. They were so close that they even married sisters. Amali Bibi Shirley, Amali Bibi Tsanisas Pea. So these men were very, very close their whole life. So yesterday or today, I mentioned it, that there was something I wanted to explain to you guys about the Houston Church and when it opened. And I said that it was something very unique that Houston did. Houston was a real pioneering church. They really did things that a lot of churches didn't do before. And here's what I wanted to explain to you guys about where I said they did something very unique, something that no other church ever done, because they did it first and no other church could have done it. So I'm going to explain it to you, and I hope I explain it right. I'm going to take my time. In 1977, Pastor Safka opened the church, and as we know, when we talked about it last week, Pastor John and Pastor Nick Martin from Philadelphia designed the sign. And the sign was God's Gypsy Christian Church. If I'm not mistaken, Nikki Pompons, tell me if I'm yes or no. I think the original sign says Romanes, de Devleski Romani Kangari. As a matter of fact, Nikki Pompons was one of the guys that made the sign by hand. So when Pastor Safka opened the church, his church name was God's Gypsy Christian Church when they started the church. And Pastor Safka's church was alone. So a year later, Pastor Milano and the Houston Church got together, and Pastor Milano's church, as a lot of you people know, it's called, the name of their ministry is Let God Arise. A lot of churches have names for their ministry. Let God Arise, Bishali Houston Church. And Pastor Safka's church, the ministry name from the start was God's Gypsy Christian Church. But Safka wasn't in fellowship. There was no fellowship. It was just Safka. But when Pastor Milano opened up the church, and I guess somewhere along the line, they decided, him and Safka, they kardron pe yek kangari. They have yek secharimos, yek doctrine, yek pachamos. When Pastor Milano did that, Pastor Milano started the fellowship. Because Safka couldn't have fellowship one church. But when Pastor Milano joined with him, I could day Sina, and they started to go with the churches, same Pachamos, same Hadarimos, same Zakono. Pastor Milano was the church that began the fellowship. And that's why I said it was something unique, because every church after that, whatever fellowship it is, they only followed the lead of Pastor Milano's church. So I wanted to share that, to tell you guys that these churches were really important in what they did, and they set standards. Now, before I call Mucci, just give a thumbs up so I can know you're in here. Before I bring you up, I wanted to share something about what happened at Houston Church. I'm going to read a list of names, and listen to this. Pastor Nick Mitchell, Houston, Texas. Pastor Vondo Mitchell, Houston, Texas. Pastor Nick Martin, Philadelphia. Pastor Roddy White, Atlanta. Pastor Uncle Nicky Martin, Houston, Texas. Pastor Teddy White, Charlotte, North Carolina. Pastor Nick White, Atlanta, Georgia. Pastor Tony Costello, Brooklyn, New York. Pastor John Zitko, Chicago. Pastor Jimmy Cooper, Houston, Texas. Pastor Gregory, Houston, Texas. Evangelist Anthony Johnson, Houston, Texas. Pastor Pepe, Houston, Texas. And Pastor Tony in Boston. All those 14 names that I just read was or were or still are pastors. And every single one of these men on this list, at one time or another, served under Pastor Milano before they became ministers, and served in the church. I succeeded Pastor Milano. This church produced a lot of pastors. this church did amazing things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up Amaro Prala Umuchi. God bless him, that's Pastor Milano's son. And he's going to share a story with us. Tell us how the church started there and tell us how things went when they went out, what they did. Muchi, I'm going to bring you up right now. And when I bring you up, before you start anything, let's make sure that we can hear you, you can hear me. So, Muchi, and then you could come up with me. Hi.
Can you hear me? That was a lot of noise in the background.
During this part of the video, we was having some hard times bringing Muchi up, so I'm going to go fast forward a little bit to get it going. The home button on the phone.
And really it started with my baby, Loli. She went to Jersey, she got saved, and she came back here to Houston.
All right.
And Loli was about 70 years old, and she got saved. And we weren't. We were big alcoholics, I can't lie. It was the one day or next day that we were drunk. And Loli came, and Wando, Nikki, Pastor Nikki, wanted to find the church for her. And every church they went to, 2, 3 of them, she kept on saying, Nai Warta. That's not right. Nai Kachak Hangari Warta. Nai Kuchak Hangari. So one day, I think it was Wando, found Braeswood Assembly of God.
Yeah, Braeswood.
And the minute she walked in and heard the music, and she said, this is the right church. She said, I sense the Spirit of the Lord in this church.
That was 77, right?
Yeah.
Did Sam have a church yet?
Yeah, Sam had a church.
Okay.
Sam had a church in Los Angeles. Matter of fact, how I know was Ricky got sick. Rick Mitchell, his son, got very sick. And I went there, and he was in the hospital, and they brought him out. And when they brought him out, they diagnosed him with cancer. And I was sitting on the side, and I seen these people singing, and a house full of people. Bulan Tumesu Maria was there.
Yeah.
At the house. And I said, these people are nuts. The man was diagnosed with cancer, and this man is sick.
They're happy. Yeah.
Praise God. This man is crazy. He's out of his mind. So I came back from Los Angeles, and my baby Lori, we started taking her to Braeswood. And after a while, Sam came. And he came because my couple Kola was on dialysis machine. And he came with Rosie. And he stayed at Mende Calcutta. And Pastor Nick and Sally started asking questions. And they went in the room, and Sally and Nikki followed them. Shirley went with them too. My room was right next door to them. And they started praying. Shirley ran in the room, hiding my fugo, Odell in the room. So when I walked in the room, I fell to my feet, and I started to ask for forgiveness. And I never knew why I was asking for forgiveness.
You just knew something was there.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I seen like there was 2 windows, and the bed was right in between the 2 windows, and there was like, believe it or not, like hands coming through the windows, and they were around Sam and Rosie.
Like hugging them.
Hugging them, exactly. And that's how the movement started. Right from that night, my father got saved. Danny in another house, my brother Danny, Rigates house. And the Spirit moved that day, that morning, and we all got saved the same morning.
Wow.
Nikki, Wanda, all of us, the whole household got saved that one morning. And That's how the church started.
You guys went to California and got baptized, right, Muchi?
Yes, yes. What happened was we were going to Braeswood, the Kangarin, a Gajikani, and we went there for a couple months, and then we decided to go to Los Angeles and get baptized by Pastor Sam. And then when we went there to get baptized, Osafka prophesied over Pastor Nicky and over my father, Pastor Milano, that there was going to be a church in Houston.
Wow, I never knew that.
Look how many years went by that Pastor Milano and Pastor Nicky were going to be the pastors of the church.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was outside on a porch. One day, Sam fixed his breakfast at his house, and there was a bunch of guys there, and we were praying. And the man prophesied over the old man and Nicky that they were going to be pastors of the church in Houston. Came home, we kept meeting in the houses. The Franks got saved. The Whites, Ronnie White was one of the first ones out of the Whites to get saved.
What was you guys doing, like prayer meetings, singing, stuff?
What happened was we started meeting in a house, Ronnie. And we had worship, praise. The old man would read a little. But then we asked the church, Braeswood Assembly, they thought in it, the pastor, they should shut up on me.
Okay, more personal.
Right. So more somebody that's more knowledgeable. Because we wasn't that knowledgeable. You're talking me within a year, 6 months. You understand?
Your father was learning the same time as you.
Yes, exactly. So we wanted to know more. And we wanted to make sure that we was getting the right teaching and knowing the right thing, Ron. Before we would go out to people to witness, to say things. And we never used to call. People would come automatically to the house.
Yeah, curious.
Yes, yes. And the movement started slowly by slowly. And the Lord moved us to get a church. Avenazol home, we would go to the people. And, you know, today it's completely different. You ain't got the money to
deal with, you know.
Namaya pusimos.
Maray spawa, maray, all those things. Yeah.
Namaya techaza o horezo Christian sentiaves.
Right.
Nazalen de kapkharaicha, napio pai, ampliavian namor kar, bengsan.
Yeah. Amen. It's the truth. We talked about that last time.
Now, if you get a hallelujah goosebump, you're ready to put a church.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the truth.
You know?
How long before you guys opened the church? How long after you guys got baptized was your father ready to open the church at Teplichogo?
Roughly, I'd have to say maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, so about 78, 79, Pastor Milano.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's all. And the church opened 79 to be exact. 79.
All right.
And like you said, the church did a lot of things.
Amen.
We started the retreats, the first church to build a church from the ground up.
Yes.
On property, build a church from the ground up, you know.
Muchi, you see how I read that? Did you hear when I read the list of all the pastors that came to the congregation? You know, it's amazing that a lot of people went through your guys' church. Like, a lot of people don't know Pastor John, Pastor Nick Martin.
Oh, yeah.
When John left from here, he came back from California on Bull Day, and then he came to Houston, and Nick Martin met him there in Houston, and they started to serve with your father over there.
Right.
Again. How many people do you guys have in the church here, Muchi?
What's that, Ronnie?
So they South man, they come from the start. South.
There was about 20 people that were going to Braeswood, and that started at the house. There was about 20, 25 people going to Braeswood. Because we would go and we would call them to the Gajikanis church.
Right.
You understand? Because we didn't have a church.
Hey.
And we'd go with them. We would take them. Matter of fact, Wando and Miller Mitlow and Wally Mitlow was the ushers, and they would open the church, believe it or not, for the Gajay at 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning.
Shahart.
And that's how long we went to the church. That's how much we went to the Gajay.
I didn't know that.
They even had special services for us in the church there, a room they gave us. They had a church service there on a certain day. We didn't go and open up a church right away, man.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was good, like a year later or something like that, you guys had the church. But I remember, but when you guys opened up the church, was it the Whites were involved?
Yes.
Susan
Millers, Pastor Steve, my Uncle Kola, because they were here at that time.
Yeah, they left California too, right?
They were here. There was a lot of strangers. The main thing was people being saved.
Right.
That was the main vision for the church to grow, not just to grow with Christians, but the main thing was to, hold on, Ronnie. Let me plug this in. The main thing was for people to be saved.
Yes.
You know, and that was our main goal. Sleep, eat, drink, people being saved. That's all we thought about.
You guys went to Boston, Muchi? To make it honest, on the Boston, to witness Carrion, there
Yeah,
was
the first missionary, one of the first missionaries the pastor took was Boston.
To the Light Acoste, right?
Yes. Jerry Marco, Milano.
That was like 80 or 81, I remember.
About 80.
Yeah.
About 80. Yeah, and they got thrown out.
Yeah, there wasn't a good reception.
No, they wanted to throw them out of the hall. They wanted to throw them out of town, and which was normal. I can't lie. At that time, you were dealing with business. You was dealing with economy, sloppy.
Yep.
You know, it was a lot harder then.
My father, all the Florida became Christians. My father was one of the last ones. And one of his biggest thing was, why ci de la spete cultural Christian? Because it was very important to del pescatan of us.
Yes.
And he couldn't understand how to give that up because Shoneski de Bocali and John explained to him. And then so say did la tu, Frankie, and this is Namo, God, you can.
Yes.
And people just didn't get it.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, Muchi, back then that was the thing. You know, this is one of the reasons I talked about doing these lives and talking about the old churches. We used to have a saying back then. Remember the saying, you want to hug a tree. That's how much you had love of God, God's people.
Yes.
The only thing you wanted to do is share Socorro Zodel. You wanted Rome to get involved. And not that I'm knocking anybody today, but the Christian church is so busy trying to get the Christians back on the Kangari, they lost sight of going out and bringing people kind of Christians. You can?
Or Christians from other churches.
Yeah. It's the truth. You can?
No, I understand. Dick, it was a lot. You got to figure 40 years ago, 42 years ago, Ronnie, we thought Safka was the devil.
Right.
You understand? Nobody would leave him in the house.
Right.
When the Costellos, Tumananamora from Chicago,
they all baptized there.
The first thing, Nachano Horezo, you're going to be a Christian.
Yeah.
You understand? Nechalano Horezo. Christian Sateris.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't something that you would plan or anything. No. Lasas a guitarra, Jasas Kakar, I pull Lokovas, I mean, as beast, Rande Gene, in the Dokar. I Besasas Kutser, I took 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, daybreak.
Yeah.
There's plenty of times we walked out of a house. You understand?
Yeah.
There's plenty of times that the kids fell asleep on the floor, and we would have to let them sleep there because it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And the main thing was to be a witness for the city to be saved.
Yeah.
That was the main goal.
Exactly. Well, like I said, that was the purpose of Christianity. The way we accepted it, we wanted to share it. We wanted to
Yes.
tell people
Yes.
good news. That it is.
Yes.
And how long did your father preach before he retired, sort of, and then Nicky took over?
The old man preached, I have to say, 30 years.
30 years?
30 years. 30 years. But Dick, I have to tell you, Nicky was like an assistant pastor from the beginning.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, him and Ronnie White, right?
Yes. Yes.
Him and Ronnie used to do everything together. I remember they used to make tapes and teachings and stuff back in the 80s.
Yes. Then after that, it was him and Uncle Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, Nicky was always ready for it, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's all. Now Wando's got it. Trying to do the best he could. That's
Well, you know what, Muchi, that's a beautiful thing. Can two generations, can Pastor Milano, his son, and then his other son, and then Obrale Kangari.
Well, we figured there's 4 generations. My father, me,
yeah,
Scooter,
and
now Jake.
Yeah, and I talked to Scooter the other night. We talked about that. Max or Jacob, the 4th generation, the great grandchildren of Pastor Milano, and they serve in the church. It's a beautiful thing, they can.
Yeah.
Muchi, think about this for a second, and I think a lot of the room will agree with this. When the church first started, 78, 77, stuff like that, just being the Romano mentality, the way Romane people think, you didn't think it would go 40 years, 50 years, and still be going. You figured it's enough Romano thing.
First of all, it's just a phase they're going through.
Right. We didn't think it'll last all those years. It can keep going like that.
That's right. That's right.
Muchi, I can't thank you enough. God bless you. I said this about the rules when we started. I wasn't going to make a real long thing out of it, so it'll get boring and linger on.
No, I understand, Ronnie.
And I thank you,
Dick,
for
it's a good
spending
thing.
the time.
It needs to be done. It needs to be done. I'll tell you why.
Well, that was the point of this.
That's the point of it. Dick, do we need to still go out and plow the field?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. We need to get that vision back, the cross. It can't stop. You understand?
Right.
We can't take it loosely. 42 years. It's going to go in maybe another 140 years.
Yeah.
God's willing. Whatever he wants. This is not a phase. This is not something we go through for a month or two. No, this is a lifetime.
It became a lifetime.
For eternity. Forever. And that's our goal.
Muchi, about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I was watching the 20th anniversary, Los Angeles.
Yes.
And this is why this happened. I seen Pastor Salta, Pastor Milano, Johnny, Nicky, Philadelphia, Pastor Tony, and I shared this with Pastor Steve Miller. Like, these people got lost. People forget the Chino Gaijale, what they went through to open a church, how they do it. And that's what led to these rooms, for people to understand and go and understand what happened those days, how we did it, what happened.
It wasn't easy, as it is now. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, 2 different things.
It's 2 different things. You got a lot of right here. You've got this right here.
Yeah.
The biggest school. You understand?
Yeah.
Right here. It's not like going from door to door anymore. Now the biggest thing you do, if you go to a hospital, if somebody's sick or something, that's it. Or you go to a house, visit, that's all. Like I said before, it's very easy now to get saved. Before, you really had to witness. You really had to go out there. Salvatore Americano, plow the field.
Yeah. God
plants the seed, you got to plow the field.
Amen.
And that's the way it is.
Oh. Again, God bless you, Muchi. Thank you.
God bless you.
I love hearing the old
I love you too. God bless you.
It was good talking with you. God bless you, Muchi.
Good night.
Okay.
God bless you too.
Take you down now.
Bye-bye.
Well, God bless Muchi. I think he did a great job. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. The Houston church did a lot of things that other churches didn't do. They was ahead of their time. And in August of 1989, they did something different from what we was used to. We was used to revivals. Well, revival back then was Tawaze Kangari, like out there in Chicago, we used to put a revival for 2 days on the holo. And everybody knew what it was. You would get dressed up, come to the hall 8 o'clock at night. The choir would sing a lot of fast songs. A couple of pastors from out of town would come and share a little bit, and then maybe have food later. And that was it. 2 days, maybe 3-4 hours on the holo each day, and you had a revival. In Houston, Texas, I don't know the whole story, but there was a different vision. Pastor Nick Mitchell, Pastor Uncle Nicky, Pastor Milano had a vision for something different. And I'm not exactly sure how it started. We're going to find out now. But in 1998, in August, they had what they called the first men's retreat. And it changed the Homani Kangari from what it was. Pastor Jimmy Cooper, are you in the room? I didn't see you. Could you just give a thumbs up if you're here? And like I said, they had this men's retreat in Houston. And when it happened, it changed the church in Houston, and it changed the churches around America with these men's retreats. Pastor Jimmy Cooper was, he wasn't involved in the church, I believe, but he was at the first men's retreat. And I'm going to bring up Pastor Jimmy Cooper now, and he's going to share with us kind of his testimony of what happened when he went to that men's retreat. So give me a second, guys. Pastor Jimmy, I just sent you the invite to come up. God bless you, Jim. Could you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're perfect. How are you?
You're very low, Ronnie. Hold on.
I'm not talking that much. You're going to talk, so I don't care if I'm low.
Okay, but can the room hear me? Can everybody hear me in the room?
Guys, give him a thumbs up if you can hear him. Okay,
Give us a thumbs up. Okay, they can hear me. Good. Praise
Okay.
the Lord. Well, God bless you, Ronnie. God bless everyone in the room. I heard Muchi. I heard what he shared, and it's a beautiful testimony. Chachista Sarisarei Kangari, Houston, Texas. And I thank God for the work that Pastor Milano done Anikako Foro. And I think he gave the story how they came to Boston. Well, we were in Boston when Pastor Milano came in 1980. They came and they brought the gospel to our family. And at that time, Ronnie, Chiekanda Marajane accepted Christ. I think the only person that received Jesus at that time was my grandmother, was Raida. And that was in 1980. Everyone else was afraid. Everyone else got upset. Truth of the matter is, Shudeli Avria Nakolo Kaisazli when they came.
I will, Jimmy.
And in 1981, we came to Chicago. And you know that. That's when we got together. And Tunchi, Sa Amari Familia, Dama Marutrao Kadil. Pat McLean was our pastor, and we got baptized along with your mom and your dad and Didi.
Yeah.
And we became followers of Christ, and it was the seed that was planted from Pastor Milano and
Right.
And through that ministry, we have to say that our family all became Christians, all became believers in Christ because of that. And Ronnie Legs is in the room also. Ileski familia. Sali Jeneka Samas on Boston. Kako Jerry's family. We all became believers in Christ because of that. And then in 1995, Ronnie, I made Muchisailem on Houston. As you remember, we came to Houston in 95, the winter of 95. And during those times, Kaisamas on Foro, Member Familia, spiritually, Durilem Katarodel. I kind of fell out of fellowship with God those years. Chimay Javas ke Kangarin, Manas Gujimos ani Mogotrayo, Manas service ani Mogotrayo. My heart became callous, and I had no more desire for God anymore. And what happened was I started looking for the world. I studied Sademte Traivani Lumia. And from 1995 till 1998, I could say that I was an apostate. And the things of God.
Jimmy, was you going to church to Pastor Milano?
Rarely, Ronnie. Maybe once a month we would pop in for a service. That would be it.
Like that?
Yeah, it would be very, very rarely Justice K. Kangari. Occasionally, maybe on a holiday while we were here in town. So what happened was Pastor Uncle Nicky came in town, got together with Nick Mitchell, and they reached out to Amele Maitirne Jene at the time, telling us that they're planning to have a men's retreat. Chinempele Murs on a hotel. They're going to have prayer, worship, Bible study, and they kind of got the city excited. They called some other ministers from other cities, and they said, we'll have a great time. And a few of us decided to go. We had nothing else better to do, so we made reservations. Yeah, make a hotel Tejas. And the story went like this. We got in a van. We got in a Suburban one day, and we're going to the hotel. We're going to check into the hotel, and we got on the expressway, Ronnie, to go to the retreat. And in the car, we're joking and laughing, and we're saying, you know what, guys? The family thinks we're going to be at a hotel for 3 days. Why don't we go to the airport and fly to Vegas? And besides being on Vegas 3 days, no one's going to look for us. No one's going to worry where we're at. We'll just call home once in a while. And we were serious. We were considering going to the airport, Tejas por airplane, Tejas to Vegas. Then one of the boys said something, and I'll never forget it. He said this. He said, guys, Vegas will always be there. It'll be there next week, too. But this might be a chance to change our lives.
There you go.
Let's give this a try. And we all agreed. So we pulled into the hotel, Lama Marurumo, and we spent the night. We woke up the next morning and the retreat began. It was August the 10th, 1998. I relay about, I don't know how many exactly, but probably under 100 men came to that retreat. The day began, Carcerelli teachings, Nick Mitchell, Uncle Nicky did some amazing teachings those days. And in that night, Ronnie, the worship began. And something happened that first night that is unexplainable, undescribable, I think is the words I can use. The presence of God fell so heavy that night, Anikodo Rumo Kaisamas, that every man that was in that room was crying like a baby. And we didn't know what was happening. Men were on their faces, on their knees, crying and screaming out to God. And I'm on my knees that night, Ronnie, and I'm there, and I'm crying on God. And the presence of God is surrounding every single person in that room in a very, very special way. A manifested presence like I've never experienced before in my life. But at this time, earlier, they do some katarodil. I've hardened my heart towards God. I've lost the relationship. I haven't prayed in months. I haven't read the Bible in months. I haven't worshipped God like this in a long time. And I'm crying out to God, and I'm telling God, please, Lord, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. And Ronnie, something happened to me that night that never happened before. And I'm not the guy, and I think you know this about me, and everyone in the room knows, I'm not the guy to say, God told me, I heard the voice of God, God spoke to me. But this night, at this time, I heard the voice of God. Amen. And in my ear, I heard him tell me that he loves me and that he forgives me. And that's what impacted my life more than anything else. What happened at that first retreat in 1998, August 10th, 11th, and 12th, Ronnie, is everyone that was there, we experienced something. We experienced the love of God. We found out how much God loves us. And it was the power of his love that changed people's lives. We felt his embrace. We felt his forgiveness. We felt his grace. We felt his mercy. We felt his presence. I put in Jardem, Sodi, Chaches, Kamilamin, Udil. Well, long long story short, that day ruined my life.
Yeah.
For the good. It changed my life for the good.
Yeah.
Our lives all took a different course after that day, Ronnie. Never the same again. Churches, never the same again. Of course, she's imperfect. We've all made mistakes. We've fallen. But we get back up again. But again, the thing that we experienced was God's love. And I just want to say this to everyone in the room tonight that's listening. What is going to change people's lives, again, is when people experience the love of God.
Amen.
It's God's love that transforms people's lives.
Nothing else.
You know what happened to me in that retreat? I'll tell you what happened. Romans 8:39 became real that night. And what does that say? It says, nothing separates us from the love of God.
Yeah.
I experienced God's unconditional love, even though even though even though and He with open arms accepted me back, and He forgave me and gave me another chance. And that's what changed my life. Until today, that's what's still changing my life till today and every day.
Jimmy, how many retreats was there? Afterwards, you became a part of the retreats. You guys.
Well, what happened was, yeah, of course, and yeah, I wasn't serving the Lord. I wasn't part of the church, but after that retreat, yeah, I went head first. They servivli devlez antunchi to them anuvazli devlezko. Pastor Milano today, Sama Pimandi, Pastor Nick Mitchell, Pastor Uncle Nick. To them anani kangarite servivlensa, and I started serving the Lord, and never had any intentions to preach. Never had any intentions to share the gospel with anyone. Actually, I was very afraid of the pulpit, and I wouldn't be able to get up behind the pulpit and share anything. But I got to continue in the testimony. Pastor Milano kept pushing me to serve and putting me in areas to serve, and I thank the Lord for that. Churches, I thank God for Pastor Miller, a great man of God, a man full of wisdom, full of love, and a man who always encouraged us. They service did this. And what happened was Pastor Milano's daughter got sick in Gildani, California. Everyone remembers the story. I salingi familia Geleta in California while Gilda got sick. And this just happened right after the retreats, just a few months later. I never preached a message in my life. I never shared a sermon in my life. So Pastor Milano and his family all leave to California, and Sunday's coming. So Pastor Milano calls me Saturday. True story. Okay, Jimmy, yeah. Okay, get ready. You're going to preach tomorrow.
No.
Okay, now, this is a 70-year-old pastor, Juan, that I highly respect.
Right.
I am not going to say no to this man under no circumstances. So, yeah, Pastor, don't worry about it. We got it covered. So I hang up the phone on Pastor Milano, and now I'm crying. I'm shaking in fear because he wants me to preach tomorrow. So I call immediately to Pastor Uncle Nick, not Pastor Uncle Nick, but Pastor Nick Mitchell. But Nicky, I just talked to the old man. Nicky's laughing on the other line because he knows. Nicky, he wants me to preach tomorrow. Nicky's laughing. Nicky, nastikarav, I can't do this. You got to talk to him. You got to get me out of this. There's no way. And listen to what Pastor Nick Mitchell says to me. Now, keep in mind, Ronnie, this was 20 years ago.
Right.
And I never preached a day in my life. This is the exact words that Pastor Nick Mitchell tells me. He says this to me. Get used to it, kid. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life.
There you go. Prophesize.
Now, Nicky, what are you saying? Yes. God has called you to preach His word.
Wow.
He prays with me, and he tells me, Nadaram. And that Sunday, which was the next day Sunday, there wasn't a lot of people in church, about 600.
There you go.
It was right during the retreats. About 500 to 600 people was in church. And I got up and I shared a message, and I was shaking and I was scared, and I don't even know what I said, but I did it. I got through it. And today, I'm a servant of the Lord, a minister of God's word, because a guy named Nick Mitchell, a guy named Miller Mitchell, and a guy named Uncle Nick took me under their wing and encouraged me to serve the Lord.
God bless you. Somebody asked me after I announced it yesterday why Jimmy Cooper got to do with Milano's church. I said Moochie and you, and I told him that the movement of the retreats, how big it was. I think you guys went to Philadelphia, came to Chicago, you went to California, you went to New York with these retreats, Jimmy, and I only seen I think 2 or 3 of them, and I never seen a movement like that for people to be delivered home by the hundreds of drugs. People got saved, people got healed. I never seen or experienced anything like those retreats. And I have to say, I think there was a very, very big part of the Houston church, the canon, what they did. And it was amazing. And that's why I needed you to come up here to say, because, like I said, I'm trying to explain what churches did, how they did things. You know, Dick, not that I'm knocking or doing it, saying anything bad about any church, but today, Dick, I have to say, through this Instagram, you see, at any given time, there's a revival, men's retreat, 2, 3 of them a week from this church, that church, that church.
Right.
And it kind of lost the luster of what it was. It kind of became a normal thing. You have a revival now every 2 weeks. And back then, in the old days, it was really something special. And these retreats, like I said, saved so many people's lives, made so many ministers, started so many churches through the Houston church. And that is for what they did. How many people followed afterwards. It's just amazing.
And you're correct, Ronnie. So Golopika retreats was churches, life-changing, amazing. And we hear that, life-changing messages, life-changing service. No, chachimos. It was definitely life-changing. Through those retreats, today there's men of God who are serving the Lord because of those retreats. Those retreats saved people's lives. I mean, of course, but it was through the retreats how people were delivered and set free from drugs. People were living ugly. People who did not know Christ came to salvation. People who never served the Lord began serving the Lord today. Today, there are ministers who came from those retreats. There are servants of God. There are teachers. There are elders. There are deacons today because of Socadao del Nicola retreats through that ministry. And I thank the Lord that I had a part of it. It was a small part of it. One of my jobs was to put the things together, and that's what me and myself and Wando, Pastor Wando, today, one of our jobs was the guys who would be behind the scenes to put everything together. Lasas de Holera, to handle the flights, picking up people, the food. We would be the organizers and the administrators of the retreats, and I thank the Lord because we were all part of that. We had that great experience. I checked this. Was there one better than the other? They were all great. I mean, there was not one that wasn't great. But of course, the first one for me was 98, was the first one we were part of. But yes, the last one we had was in 2003, Ronnie, at the Adams Martin. I think that was probably the biggest one I saw them in. There was Mia Homsas. There was 1,000 men, at least 1,000 men at those retreats. And ministers from all over came. And it was just an amazing time. Amazing time in the Lord. And they did their work. They did their job.
Amen. They
did their job.
Accomplished what they set out to do.
Absolutely.
Well, Pastor Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for coming up with us tonight and sharing that. Now, we've been getting a lot of likes while you've been talking, but I don't know if they're your likes or my likes. That's just, God bless you and your family. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate you sharing the testimony of what happened to you in the church there in Houston. God bless you and God bless your family. I appreciate it. Thank you.
God bless you too, Ronnie.
I'll see you. I'm going to take you off right now. You stay here. Okay, something happened, guys. Hang on. Okay, God bless you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed tonight. Like I said, it was a blessing to hear the stories. I'm going to share just for a couple more minutes. Like I said, I'm not going to keep the room open just for the sake of keeping it open, but I want to thank the guys that were here tonight. God bless all the guys that are in the room, the ladies. I enjoyed it. I want to make another announcement. Like I said, we're going to go, as long as the Lord leads and as long as there's people coming to listen, we're going to do this on every Saturday.
Next Saturday, the church that's in line with the timeline is the